this is the greatest race that I've ever seen. And not because there was a world record set, but just because of the level of competition across the board. And in real time, it was unidentifiable that Noah Lyles is the one who actually won the race. You really had to show me the image. And even in seeing the image, right, there's certain video angles that made me feel like Noah didn't win. Well, that dude is different.
Welcome to this week's episode of The Fumble. Rodney, how you feeling today? Got the glasses on?
Yeah, it's a little heavy on my side, I'm not gonna lie to you. I dropped my oldest off at the airport this morning to go to college. He's going to school 3,000 miles away. It's his freshman year, and I am in shambles, absolute shambles. I didn't expect it to hit me this hard. It's been like ugly cry. Yeah, so... yeah, if I'm a little offbeat today, I'm gonna try to get it together. I'm gonna work through all of these emotions and feelings and things, but it'll be cool. You good? How you feeling? You good?
I'm feeling good. I'm really excited about this episode. Some crazy stuff happened in the Olympics, and then we also got a really special guest to talk about her great-grandfather who was the first of the first. So, in the Olympics.
Yeah, all right, Let's do it. Let's get into the fumble.
All right, so starting with track and field, it did not disappoint this week, and we still have a few more big races to go. But Rodney, so far, who had the biggest win? Was it Noah Lyles' epic photo finish, Quincy Hall's comeback in the 200 meter, or Julien Alfred's win? That was St. Lucia's first gold medal.
Yeah, a lot of amazing feats there. I'm going to go Noah Lyles, though. In every group chat and in my house, I was saying that this is the greatest race that I've ever seen. And not because there was a world record set, but just because of the level of competition across the board. I mean, there were literally 4 or 5 different runners who you felt like potentially could have placed in this event. And in real time, it was unidentifiable that Noah Lyles is the one who actually won the race. You really had to show me the image. And even in seeing the image, right, there's certain video angles that made me feel like Noah didn't win, and even at this moment. So, for him to be down in 8th place after the first 60 meters, or 30 meters rather, and then to come all the way back and win the gold was just absolutely incredible. That dude is different.
And to break a record that, the United States had not won that race in 20 years.
Yeah.
That's crazy. He talked a lot of trash going into it, so, he had to win it. And he did. And so
Samaria, I was going to bring this up. So we now have an example of a brash, outspoken male athlete who people do not like. So this is not a gender-specific thing in society. People just do not like loud, brash, black athletes, regardless of their gender. I just wanted to establish that because we don't, as black men, we're not allowed to say any and everything and be boisterous without scrutiny as well. So I just wanted to acknowledge that fact. Because I had Americans rooting against Noah Lyles. Did you see the timeline?
Yes. They were. And they're waiting on him to compete in the 200 to see
if he fails.
That's his better race. So I'm like, y'all need to just go. But it was so magical though, Rodney, just watching it. And I'm sitting here just like stunned. I'm like, okay, did he really just come back? And then when they announced that he actually won, I just had chills. It was crazy. And then Quincy Hall, listen, Quincy. Quincy, I feel like that going into that last turn, he had to be like 5th. Coming back with the golds in your mouth.
Man, that's culture right there.
I know.
He had the slugs in. That's culture right there. And then, to be honest, like his last 30 meters or so, he did everything every track coach would tell you not to do. He wasn't informed. He was just running from all heart and gut. And it was just like, it was so powerful to see because he just really did not want to lose. And there was such a ferocity that just was pouring out of him. And then to see the video reaction of his family, his tribe, his community back in Kansas City, celebrating the interviews. It was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful moment. Proud of everybody. Proud of the young woman from St. Lucia as well. Julien Alfred, what a race. She smoked the field. Smoked the field.
That's what I was like, seeing like the whole country when they showed like the live stream of them celebrating their first Olympic gold medal. I'm just blown away. Now we do have to talk about Sha'Carri. How much emphasis are we going to put on her start?
She's notorious for having these bad starts. It's been a thing with her for a while now. Her ability to close is like Noah Lyles, like incredible, right? Second to none. But there's something about her starts that have to get better. She was the far away favorite going into the 100, especially with the Jamaicans not participating in the 100 meter. So, it's a disappointment, I think, for her. It's hard to say I'm the second fastest woman on earth, so I'm a disappointment. But I'm sure for her, like, she didn't go there to win silver. She went there with the expectation that she was going to win gold. And so I'm for an athlete of her caliber, anything short of that, I'm sure it feels like a bit of a disappointment. Hopefully her tribe and community are pouring into her in this time.
Yeah. Well, you all let us know what you think down in the comments. Who had the best win in the track and field so far in the Olympics? All right, so speaking of track and field, we have a very special guest joining us this week. She's an advocate, producer, and lead actress on NBC's hit show, The Irrational, Maahra Hill. Thank you so much for coming on with us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
You are also
Hold on, Samaria. Let me just check in on the woman's spirit. Maahra, how are you feeling this morning? How's your spirit doing? You good?
I'm good. Yeah, thanks for asking. That's the most important part, right?
Absolutely. We like NBC family because earlier I had a guest starring role on Chicago Fire, so I feel like we might have some synergy. You feel what I'm saying on this here day?
I do, for sure. NBC family, absolutely.
Yeah, no doubt.
You are also the great-granddaughter of a pioneer in track and field, legendary long jumper DeHart Hubbard, the first Black athlete to win an individual gold medal at the Olympics literally 100 years ago in Paris. I read that he told his teammates on their way to France that this moment was bigger than them. 100 years later, Maahra, how does it feel to kind of see the way that track and field has really grown, especially for Black athletes in the Olympics?
It feels great, like you want to see progress if it's been 100 years, I've been watching. Obviously, I watched the Olympics this year more than any other year, and just to kind of get a sense of how the athletes have progressed, and just thinking about my great-grandfather's mindset at the time and all that he went through, and thinking about all that they're going through, I do still feel like we may be a bit underrepresented across the board. There are still racial stereotypes that persist, but I'm grateful to see the freedom of expression that everyone has. The acclaim that they're able to get, that he was not able to secure at that time. Not that he wanted it, because he was very modest and very humble, but we've definitely come a long way. And it feels good, and it feels inspiring to watch the Olympics any year, but this year in particular is pretty momentous for me and our family.
You would think, though, being the first Black man to win an individual gold medal in track and field would yield a little bit more popularity and for sure appreciation. Seeing as how he won that gold medal 12 years before Jesse Owens, why do you think there aren't more people aware of your grandfather's accomplishments?
Well, 100 years ago, he was the first African-American to win individual gold, but that particular Olympics was also the first Olympics to have live radio broadcast. So everything was just newspapers. He was all over the papers, right? And of course, the 1920s was the Jim Crow era. Now, he was up north, but there was an intentional suppression and oppression around achievement. So that has a lot to do with it. I think the difference between what he and Jesse, he was definitely an inspiration to Jesse Owens. They knew each other. So Jesse definitely stands on my great-grandfather's shoulders. But there was a political charge at that time with Hitler, coming right around the time of World War II, when what he proclaimed would not happen with the U.S., and then Jesse did it. So there was a certain energy or charge around it, and much more coverage in general. They had to go through a lot more to get that kind of coverage at that time in the 20s. They come a lot further in the 30s, and there was this political charge with Jesse Owens. But then, like I said, my great-grandfather was very humble, very modest. Our family, like my mother, who was his granddaughter, didn't really know as a child that he was an Olympic champion. He was just a family man, making sure they went to college, making sure they had breakfast in the morning, making sure they raked the leaves. He just wasn't boisterous, and he wasn't a braggart in that way.
I find that very interesting, right? When you have that level of accomplishment, you're kind of meek about it, right? But that's kind of just just how the society existed back in the day. We had track and field athletes like Noah Lyles and Sha'Carri Richardson who are fearless and unapologetic in their approach to life. How do you feel like your grandfather would appreciate the athletes that are currently existing in track and field and their boldness and brashness?
I think he would love it. I think he would appreciate it. I think he would be proud that they have this environment where they can thrive in that way, that they feel free to do that, you know what I mean? And where they can just stake their claim. And he was doing that at that time because of what he had to overcome. I mean, he had to overcome a lot more in that regard, as far as like racism. And I mean, we still face it today. Let's be clear.
For sure.
But just the freedom that they have to express themselves. I don't think he felt that same amount of freedom. I do think that he felt a requirement to be more humble, but also it was in his nature. And he was just a dignified man. He walked the world with grace and ease and an unshakable like pride in himself and his accomplishments and what he could do. So, and he set out to do it specifically so that other African Americans could see that they were limitless, you know, that he'd be proud.
Amazing.
Yeah, you talked about your great-grandfather staking his claim in an era where we had Jim Crow and racism was rampant during this time. How could you even imagine what he was going through during that time, going out to France, competing for a country that doesn't even really see him as a full citizen?
You know, he was so optimistic.
Yeah.
He didn't look for the ways or the places where he had obstacles as much as he did like where he fit. He was the consummate athlete, but he was also quite the scholar. He had a Harvard scholarship offered to him.
Wow.
And then University of Michigan pursued him. He didn't go to Harvard probably because it was a scholarship and he wanted to earn his way. He had that way about him. But on the way to Paris, you know, he was in the bow of the boat. And then on top of him was the Latinos, and then on top of them were the Caucasians. And he made his way around. He became friends with everyone. You know, it was just his spirit, the spirit of optimism. My mother would say when he would come in the house, he always had a smile when he came in. He had a smile when he left. You know that there has to be a lot going on. There's something that you're fighting within to deal with these things and to overcome them. But what he presented to his family was just optimism and confidence and grace. So, but you know, he definitely had a difficult time. Once he got to the Olympics, he bruised his heel. He had an injury. You know, he was after the world record, not just the gold medal, and somebody won that the night before. So he had a rough night before the day that he won. That was psychologically taxing. But the way that he approached everything was just, I'm going to do it. Oh, somebody did that? Well, they're going to have to do better than that. When I think of him, I don't think about his trials or, you know, how difficult it was for him. I think about how much he set out to accomplish, and he did.
Yeah.
You know, he wrote it down. I'm going to be the first colored Olympic champion. So that's what we're left with more.
So your great-grandfather went to the University of Michigan. We ain't even touched on the fact that he founded and managed a Negro League baseball team, which is insane to think about. Such a full life that your great-grandfather lived. So how can people honor his legacy? Does your family have any scholarships or programs of any sort in his name?
Well, right now my cousins and I have just created the DeHart Legacy Group. And our focus right now is to get the story told more. So we're pulling all of these archive newspapers, hiring people, producers, archive producers, to make sure that we tell a good story and inform people through the form of a documentary. They do Omega Sci-Fi, like you mentioned, that University of Michigan does have a scholarship fund that they're doing. His high school, Walnut Hills High School, does an invitational, the DeHart Hubbard Invitational, every year. So right now we're just taking ours to the storytelling piece, and expect that it will expand beyond that. But that is something that me and another great-granddaughter of his, Shani Harris, and Kristen are all putting together as we speak. So
yeah. I smell feature film. Feature film.
I smell the same thing.
You know what I mean? I ain't mad at it. You know, just let me play like a obscure tight end in the background or something. Just like one little pass over the middle, or just let me. Because he played high school football.
Are you an athlete?
Hold on now. Don't let's not get crazy, okay? You see these shoulders under this sweatshirt? It's wild under here. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Well, anyway, Maahra, we cannot wait to see whatever comes out of this story. I know it's going to be great because you're involved in it.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure talking to you both.
All right, so let's keep it Olympics, but let's switch it up just a little bit. We've been talking a lot about big events like basketball and track and field, but I have been having a blast watching random events like ping pong, handball, jiu-jitsu, or, like Samaria. Have you been tapped into any of the less popular sporting events?
Yeah, I would say like shooting was like all over Twitter with the dude that just literally rolled out of bed and got the silver medal. I can't remember was he from Turkey? Where was he from?
Yes, he was from Turkey.
Okay. I mean, like you had the people with like all of the eyewear, the gloves, everything. They had the full suits to shoot, and he just showed up and won silver. Love that. I love synchronized swimming. I think it's called artistic swimming.
They changed the name? They got a rebrand?
I think it's artistic swimming, not synchronized swimming.
That's new. But okay. Everyone's an artist.
Like
I love it.
The amount of strength in lung capacity that these women have to be able to be in sync in the water. I love it. And then like I will say this year, I watched more just swimming in general because we have two sisters from Nashville that were both competing, which is amazing. The Walsh sisters. But that keeps me on the edge of my seat, just like watching a track and field race. You're watching the 100-meter swim. I'm like, oh, okay, 50-meter freestyle. That's crazy. That's like, like Katie Ledecky swimming for like 18 minutes. Like, girl.
One of the things that is my favorite part of every Olympics is that yellow line that they use in the pool to track where the swimmers are, right? Whether or not they're on pace or behind pace of a world record or Olympic record. Like, I love that. I love that technology integration into the Olympics. Also, as it pertains to the artistic swimming, I guess we're calling it now, it was fly. I ain't gonna lie. It was fly. It was cute or whatever. But they said that the ladies were moonwalking in the water, and I didn't see it. I looked at it a lot of times. I did not see a moonwalk.
Yes, you did. It was their feet in the air. Like their feet were going like this, as if they were moonwalking.
Did they move
upside
though?
down. They were upside down. Like
maybe I gotta invert the video. I was looking because I wanted to be happy and be like, ooh, moonwalk in the water. That's fly. But I just couldn't make it out. I could not see it.
Rodney, please.
All right, whatever. Anyway, so let me tell you about some of my favorite events that I've been watching this Olympics. Like literally, my TV is just on any and everything Olympic related right now. So judo, right? For the gold medal match, there for the judo mixed team event, it was France versus Japan. And let me tell you, talk about high drama. France was down 0-2, right? And so this was like men and women competing. There's 5 different fighters who have to take on their opponent. France was down 0-2. They had 2 victories in a row, so it came down to sudden death, right? Now, let me tell you about sudden death in judo. It is, oh my gosh, Samaria, the drama. Listen to me. They have this big electronic board, and it spins around like the wheel on Price is Right to tell you which weight class is going to fight for the chance to win gold. So this thing is going around slow, and it's like, where is it going to land? Who's going to fight? And it lands on the heavyweight division. France has this fighter, Teddy Riner. He is the all-time greatest judo fighter, right? And he is the person that gets elected to go and fight in sudden death versus Japan and ends up winning it after like an 8-minute match. Just scintillating. It was high drama, yo. It was high theater. If you did not watch it, I strongly encourage you to find the clip on YouTube or something because it was crazy. I also watched team archery. I saw South Korea defeat China for gold. Yeah, Mexico also showed out, but South Korea was locked in for sure. And then track cycling. So yesterday, Australia and Great Britain were fighting for the gold. And in the last lap, this British cyclist, he slipped off of his bicycle seat and crashed into the wall. And lost the gold. It was, it was so wild. But I couldn't look away. I'm a cyclist, I be on the road. But he slipped off his seat and cost his team the gold. I was like, bruh, what are you doing? Anyway, that's what I've been watching.
Steeplechase was kind of interesting yesterday too, because a dude fell really hard. But that's always crazy. I'm like, anytime people are running for longer than 30 seconds.
Yeah.
I commend y'all because I can't do it.
You ain't got no coordination? That's crazy. I thought you.
It's not the coordination; it's the heart.
Oh, so you gotta run, yo. I've been out on the track the last week or two, like making sure I put some miles in just because I want my heart healthy. You know, we're getting older now.
I'm not a runner.
But aren't you though? Anyway, y'all let us know what are some of your favorite non-popular, less known sporting events from the 2024 Parisian Olympics in the comments section.
More trouble in Ann Arbor. The NCAA handing down a 4-year show cause to former Michigan head coach Jim Harbaugh for recruiting violations from literally 4 years ago during the pandemic. The new Chargers head coach will be forced to serve a 1-year suspension if hired back at the collegiate level. Now, this is separate from the more serious Connor Stallion sign-stealing accusations for which Harbaugh actually served a 3-game suspension. Michigan is already on a 3-year probation. Rodney, was this a necessary action by the NCAA?
No, he's not in the NCAA anymore. Who cares? Move it along, buddy. All right, he is in the NFL. So I guess in 2028, let's just say hypothetically, he doesn't have any success in the NFL. He wants to go back to college. Sure, address it then. But in the interim, it just doesn't make sense to even put this statement out there and let the world know what his penalty is, because he can't serve it in any way, shape, or form in this time period. But shout out to Jim Harbaugh. You know what I'm saying? He won a national championship. He he made out like a bandit. Got to go to the NFL. He probably saw the writing on the wall and was just like, okay, I'm a slide. Shout out to him.
Yeah,
strategy.
I feel like the NCAA is just so out of touch, especially since the pandemic. They have just had L after L after L. They tried to do some stuff with the University of Tennessee. They got sued and lost. Y'all need to just hang it up, because we're tired of y'all, and it doesn't make any sense. I think I'm more worried about the new head coach at the University of Michigan, Sharon Moore. He's a black man. He has all of this stuff on him. Now, unfortunately, in the Connor Stallion stuff, he's been accused of deleting text messages, which is not good. However, I'm just like,
we all delete text messages, though. Don't do that. Everybody.
But now there's this black cloud over the program just as he's taken over. And I really hate that for him, most importantly, in all of this. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I hadn't even taken into consideration how this will affect him. I think the NCAA, there's just a restructuring or reorganization that needs to take place. Most of the reorganization we're seeing is around conferences, right? Conference realignment. But there needs to be a strategy of tearing down the NCAA as currently constructed and figuring out what we can do to just improve the overall, umbrella of collegiate athletics. It doesn't make sense that we have USC in the same conference as Rutgers, right? 3,000 miles away. There's just the NIL is kind of getting out of control. I was watching this NCAA basketball coverage talking about which teams to look out for. I'm a huge Carolina fan, and we don't have any big men this year. And it was said because we weren't able to pay them because we gave all of our money to RJ Davis. And I'm like, wait a minute, is that how it's being broken down? We don't have money left over to compensate a big? If that's where we are in athletics? And this was Jeff Goodman saying this on his platform. Just goes to show I'm such a nerd. I watch Jeff Goodman. But if that's where we are in the NCAA, we're in some dark times, and it may get a little bit darker before it gets better. But the NCAA is going to have to be changed and reorganized and restructured.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. I can see a future where they just something bigger is created, and then they're just left over there. They're just going to die off, because if they haven't made the necessary changes this far, it's just not, they're not going to do it. I just don't feel like they're going to do it.
Well, there's these slow changes, taking place again. The inclusion of the NIL being a possibility for student athletes is a really big deal. Okay, but
they were forced to do that, Roddy. The Supreme Court forced them.
So over time, right, as these players and athletes start to be recognized as employees and not amateur athletes, there's gonna have to be a change and a restructuring in the governing body, because they will now be employees of universities, and therefore I don't know that they would necessarily be directly tied in with the NCAA as opposed to individual universities and conferences. There's a change that is on the horizon. It's tangible. You can feel it. I don't know what it is. I don't know where it falls, but there for sure is something that's about to happen. And I agree. Hopefully the athletes are the ones that benefit the most from it and not, you know, old white guys.
No, I agree. It's going to be a change, and I think the NCAA is going to be left in the dust. You all let us know what you think down in the comments. Was this a necessary action made by the NCAA against Jim Harbaugh?
Okay, I want to preface my fumble of the week this week, Samaria, by stating that all of what I am about to say is purely related to sports and athletics, and that this person may in fact be an incredible human being away from the game of basketball. Okay, is that good? That sounds nice?
Yes.
Here we go. We have been a part of this platform long enough now for those out there to tune in to know how I feel about Rudy Gobert. I think, if you haven't heard, that he is ass, okay? But lately, it's not just me. It now seems like the entire country of France, and specifically the head coach of the French national team, is starting to see Rudy Gobert the same way that I do. Now, in France's quarterfinal victory over Canada, Gobert not only did not start, but he only played all of 3 minutes. Now, this is not anything to give somebody the fumble of the week about, right? Like, I didn't give Jason Tatum the fumble of the week or Joel Embiid the fumble of the week. Rudy Gobert, though, is getting the fumble of the week for making up a story about having thumb surgery, and that being the reason that he got benched and did not start. French national head coach Vincent Collet said, no, my friend, not so fast. He let the world know that it was a basketball decision and that Rudy did not have surgery. He just wasn't a good matchup against Canada. And based on the fact that France beat Canada, right, which was a surprise because Canada was a favorite to go and play the USA team in the gold medal round, it was in fact the right decision. But here we are again, Samaria, with another reminder that Rudy Gobert is none of what his accolades say he is. He is a 4-time Defensive Player of the Year, a 3-time NBA All-Star, and he can't stay on the court and is being benched for someone not even in the league? Now, this is not to say that Gershon Yabusele, who the French national team coach inserted into the lineup, isn't talented. He was a first-round pick of the Celtics back in 2016, taken at number 16. But I mean, he only lasted for 2 years in the league. I probably could have given this fumble to anybody else, but I just think that Rudy Gobert is ass, and I'm glad that other people are starting to see it too. So can we please stop giving him awards that do not reflect his true value? Thank you. That is all. Fumble of the week. Samaria, what are your thoughts?
This was the biggest moment for Rudy Gobert. Not only were you starting, you were possibly the star of this team. This is your country is hosting the Olympics. This is a huge moment for you all to go out and do something that you've never done before. And they have to bench you. And then they play better when you're not on the floor.
But this is what happens with the Timberwolves. This is what happened with the Utah Jazz, right? In the playoffs, you cannot play Rudy Gobert. So it's
in the big moments,
yeah, you can't play him when it matters the most. And, you know, I don't, sure, he can be in the league. He's 7'2", so he has value. But all of this, like 4-time Defensive Player of the Year, that's a Hall of Famer. He has a Hall of Fame jacket. Like, his resume is crazy, but he is none of that. None of his peers regard him in that light. None of his peers respect him the way that Ben Wallace's peers respected him or Draymond Green's peers respected him. This is not about the fact that he can't even put the ball in the basket. You can't even be on the court to do the one thing that you do well. There's not even a defensive 3 seconds in international FIBA basketball. So, like, you can't even... So, it's just, you know...
Maybe it's a mental thing. I'm about to go in my...
No,
my therapy bag, because it seems like something just not like we've seen him have great games. Obviously, he's done these things. He has the accolades to prove it. But then for whatever reason, when there's a big moment and the lights are shining the brightest, he just shuts down. And the fact that you have to be benched during the Olympics and your country is the host country. You are in France. And you have to be benched. That is literally a pivotal moment in your career, and you will never be able to live that down.
Yeah, and we'll see. We'll see. France takes on Germany in the semifinals. We'll see if he gets any tick. It's being said that they don't know where he falls in that rotation. Maybe if they make it to the gold medal game, going against Team USA, with AD, Bam, and Joel Embiid, maybe he will be a necessary asset. But I don't see it. I just genuinely don't see it. I think he generally makes teams worse off when he's on the floor when it matters the most. And sorry, that's just
Do you
how
feel like after he's lied and the coach had to come out and say, "Oh, nah, dog, not Ryan Hill Potter."
Yo, and
we've
we've seen him have some mental fragility. So to be called out like that on the stage in your country, like that may affect his mental ability to show up and be a decent performer. I don't think he's gonna be great regardless, but to be a decent performer and contributor for his team, I don't know how that's gonna affect him. I want him to have a good opportunity to be the best version of himself, but again, I just don't think the best version of himself is as great as his contract says he is, and that's where I fall on it. Anyway, y'all let me know your thoughts on my fumble of the week being Rudy Gobert for lying about having thumb surgery in the midst of the 2024 Parisian Olympics.
All right, that's all for this week for another episode of The Fumble. Thank you so much for joining us, and make sure that you subscribe to The Fumble and at The Fumble Sports on all of our social media platforms. Of course, we deliver the latest in sports every day on our YouTube page with our girl Jackie Ray, and then every Friday right here at The Fumble with myself, Samaria Terry, my co-host, Rodney Rakai.
Yeah, shout out to my nephew Josh, man. I miss you so much. If you have a child in your home, make sure you cherish every single moment with them, because one day it is over and you will be having to go to work with glasses because you've been crying all morning. Oh, what a day. We out of here.